Hi, Lucy. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really, really excited. Lucy and I, we met online like many of us these days. We connected thanks to the topic of immigration because both of us are actually in a space as immigrants, as expats. We create a lot of content for the people to feel like their journeys are beautiful, valuable, they are insightful, they give them a lot of freedom and a lot of flexibility to live the lives the way they want, right? So I was super excited to have you here, and I was listening to your podcast as well, to the amazing guests that you had already. So guys, check out the Self-Made Expat. It's wow, it gave me a lot of insights also and lessons again as we're uncovering them here. So, Lucy, can you quickly introduce yourself and also tell us, to begin, about your first day in immigration? And I know that you lived in a few places, or if one day is like a bit too much, 1 week.
Yeah, I mean, thanks so much for having me, Anna. I'm so happy that we connected on LinkedIn. And I told you many times, I really love your content. Your posts are really amazing. I am very inspired by your posts many times. What you're doing is such a wonderful thing. And I've also listened to your podcast as well on YouTube channel. You have amazing guests as well. So thanks so much for having me today. Just to introduce myself a little bit here, my name is Lucy. I'm originally from South Korea. I was born and raised there. And as Anna said briefly, I lived in different countries. So Sweden, Singapore, and the Netherlands. And I immigrated to Canada a few years ago. So that's just a snippet of my expat and immigration journey. On a professional side, I am currently the CEO and the founder of Hey Globally, a platform where we connect global talent with companies overseas so that, talent can find better job opportunities abroad that requires visa sponsorship or a fully remote job. And also companies overseas, they can hire high quality talent globally. The first day of my immigration, that's such a interesting question. That's such a good question. As I said, the first ever country that I lived by myself was Vancouver in Canada. I went there just to study English. And the second country was Sweden. I studied there for about a year as an exchange student. So that experience, I would say, is more about like studying abroad kind of thinking. So like I knew that I was going to come back to South Korea, which is my home country. The first ever country that I really moved abroad without knowing when I'm going to come back to South Korea is actually Singapore. I moved there in 2012. So that's more than 10 years ago now. So I lived in Singapore for about 4 years. The first day and the first week in Singapore was actually really good because I already had a friend, really good friend of mine in Singapore. And before moving to Singapore, I already traveled there before just to make sure I vibe well with this country, just to do some vibe check. I think this is so important because every country have I'm sure, Anna, I'm curious about your journey as well, but like every country also has different kind of characteristics, different souls, I think. So I did my vibe check. So the first day and first week was really amazing. And before moving to Singapore, I already got a job there and I already had a friend and I already had a place to live there. So it was really actually smooth transition. And also the first week was when I went to the office and meet with new colleagues. And coming from South Korea, where it's super homogeneous country where I speak Korean all the time, moving to Singapore and working with multinationals, people from all around the world, that was like super refreshing that I never experienced. The first day, first week, it was just like refreshing. I just felt like, wow, the new chapter of my life just opened.
I resonate a lot with the idea of vibe check, and there were moments, there were these changes, right, of place where I lived, where I did that vibe check, and it made sense for me. Like when I went to Italy, I went there because I already knew the country, I knew the language, I was very familiar with the culture. And then I really felt very comfortable, as much as you can be is in a foreign country still. Whereas when I moved, let's say here in Bulgaria, I came here with my ex and we kind of wanted to see how it was. And it was quite nice. And it's still, but it was not, like pre planned and everything. We basically just Googled the country. We were already on a road trip. The plan was to actually like do the whole Eastern Europe like that, but we saw three countries and then we stopped, and then we said, okay, it takes us too much time, we're gonna just maybe go see, because the idea of the road trip was to actually explore the place and see where we wanted to land next. Maybe it was Montenegro, maybe it was Bulgaria, and we decided to go for Bulgaria. And that was like very initial screening, very initial vibe check. And I would probably not jump like that into anything else new right now. Like when you were saying I wanted to go to Singapore to see how it is, that's also how I feel right now about the next place I want to land at. I really want to research because most likely it will be a culture I'm not familiar with.
I really resonate with you as well, because like some countries or some cities, maybe like Singapore is amazing for me, but like some others, maybe it's not the country for them, right? Everyone is very different. Knowing who you are and visiting there before you actually decide to move there is actually very important. But yeah, I've never been to Bulgaria. I would love to visit there once.
You're very welcome. It's a lot of fun. I can already see this lesson that we seem to share as well, because the more you live abroad and the more people you know that live abroad and lived in other places, you realize that your criteria for your perfect place are really different. They can be different from people to people, right? My lesson to extract would be go really for what you want. So first discover what it is that you want, and it might take you some time, right? Like you want to understand better which kind of climate you want to live in, which kind of economy, culture, language, etc. And then you go with your gut. And if there are people who have been to places that you might think that you will enjoy, and they kind of vibe with you in terms of their values and their vision of their lives, their ambitions, then follow their advice, obviously, because they have seen something that you haven't seen and you might like that. But when there are people who, I don't know, who prefer smaller places, who prefer like different kind of cuisine or different language than you, or a bigger places, I don't know, depends on what you want, then they're probably not the best people or the right people to advise on your life journey, at least in that aspect. That's what I heard that you kind of mentioned as well between the lines. So, how do you think this experience of you being for a decade now, right? How do you think it changed your personality and your skills, or maybe even outlook on life?
So as I mentioned earlier, so coming from a country where it's such a homogeneous country, South Korea, right? We speak Korean, and nowadays we have more foreigners, but like back then, 95% of populations are Korean. Like everywhere you go is Korean, Korean, Korean. It just kind of makes you kind of see only the thing that's in front of your eye, right? So now I lived in different countries and meet with different people. I'm able to embrace different cultures. I'm becoming more open-minded, and I know that not everyone is as same as me. Everyone is right to have different opinions. I have a choice to disagree with those opinions, but it doesn't mean that it's wrong or I'm right. So that's one piece. And another piece is that you might agree with this, living abroad for almost like a decade now. And it just kind of forced me to be independent, whether I like it or not. I just like have to be independent to survive and thrive. And because of that, it just like made me believe that I'm actually more capable than I think, if that makes sense. So that's like two pieces that I learned throughout my journey.
I totally agree. The independence is probably a big reality check. And it can be tough as well, not only because it's kind of, coming of age, it can be adulting for most of us. I immigrated when I was 21, and we can safely say that when you're 21, you still don't know a lot about life. So there was a lot of growing up at the beginning, and still, I think. But then it's also for certain cultures, I think, it can be challenging because there is this interdependence that we have, right, on the family, on our surroundings, on our circles of support. It can be bigger even for like for different cultures. It can be even bigger than that. It can be their community, it can be their neighbors, it can be the school, the church, whatever that is. So most of us who do immigrate alone, we are really lonely if we don't pay attention to that. Yeah.
I noticed that, like, for me, that's why I guess, like, whenever I move abroad, I don't do it intentionally, but I surround myself with other people, other expats or other immigrants who actually just moved to a new country or who are also, like, living abroad, same as me. Do you also find yourself doing that?
Yeah, pretty often it happens to me here in Bulgaria as well because I didn't learn the language and I still haven't learned it. I speak very minimal Bulgarian so I can, like go around my business in the city, grocery and things like that. Because I never had the need, I got involved right away into this project for immigrants, for expats locally. So then English is the common language. And also, most of the people I got through that, they spoke English as well. So they would be either foreigners themselves or they would be Bulgarians or specific kind of culture, let's say, let's call it like that, meaning that they travel a lot, they speak a few languages, they have a more open-minded outlook on life. So that's kind of the people I stuck with. And then you take like other hobbies and things like that, like my improv theater in English. I mean, it all attracts the same kind of people or people with the same background. So in a sense, I live in a bubble here, but it was also pretty similar to that in Brussels when I used to live as well, because then nature of the city and the nature of the people that come there, because they are locals, of course, but they are overpopulated by, all the foreigners that come because Brussels is the capital of Europe. There is NATO, there is the European Commission, many headquarters of different companies. So that's a big hub for internationals. And back in the day, after Dubai, it was the second most international city in the
Oh,
world.
wow, I didn't know
I'm
that.
not sure about it now.
Wow.
Yes, yeah. Not sure how it is right now. Well, we can safely say that it's really cosmopolitan. So that's also where I felt much more acutely the loneliness because, for example, you get friends, and they're all foreigners at the beginning. That's amazing, but then they move
I
somewhere or
know.
they go on their own way, and you're happy for them, but you're also frustrated. You're
I
sad. You feel
know.
lonely. Sometimes a bit envious as well because maybe they're doing something that you really want to do as well. When we live abroad, we kind of see all these opportunities around us, and it's like, what are we gonna do now?
Now we see, like, I feel like there are so many opportunities, like, everywhere, right? So, like, I can't just, like, leave. I wish I can leave every country in the world, but we have to make a choice at the end of the day. So living abroad is very addicting.
It is. That's something that I like to repeat often. Back in Brussels, I met with this Ukrainian guy who had a family there, but they moved as a young family, so didn't have like a big family there. You might resonate with it as well because you're not from European Union, and
Mhm.
when you lived in European Union, you probably faced kind of a bit, let's call it just more paperwork, if not like
Yeah.
challenges or certain difficulties
Mhm.
that we face. Even with that, having learned to overcome those things, which can be actually quite scary because, I mean, you can be like deported. At least that's your fear, right? Having faced that, having overcome that, you're like, well, I'm not scared of much anymore, right? At least in that sense. So it's not like how, it's more where next or what do I want. It's really a much wider playground in a
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. It definitely, I feel like it made us stronger. Yeah. So we're not afraid of anymore. That's good.
Absolutely. So, how do you see this then translated into workspace in our career, in my business? Because you now running a business that is dedicated to helping expats
Mhm.
find their dream job in a place that they love,
Mhm.
right? So, how do you see those qualities, those maybe changes in your personality, in your outlook on life? How were they maybe translated in your career? What do you think is now more available to you in terms
Mm.
of work, in terms of career,
Oh,
in terms of businesses?
yes, that's a good question. So I launched my own business about slightly over 2 years ago, but I've been working in the tech industry before for more than 8 years or so. So that's just my career background. Definitely one thing is that after starting my own business, freedom. I can be like, one of the big thing for me is that I definitely want to be location independent. I immigrated to Canada. I love settling down in Canada. I love living there, but I have family in South Korea. So I want to be able to travel back and forth whenever I want to. And also, different parts in Asia and Europe. So I have friends there, here and there. So I want to be able to like travel whenever I want to and meet people, etc. On my personal side, having that freedom that comes to me by having my own business, that's really refreshing. And it's really liberating, actually. And secondly, in terms of career thing, before when I was working in tech company, my day is usually, talking is like a B2B sales job that I had. So more of like basically selling softwares to companies. And now I am working with aspiring expats and current expats, immigrants or aspiring immigrants, to help them, find jobs. Or nowadays, like many people are working remotely, or at least they want to go abroad and traveling and working at the same time. So helping them with find their fully remote job. That's like, you know, it's really fun for me because those people are my people. I think you mentioned earlier, when you were working in Bulgaria, you were surrounded with people who speak English and, same similar types of people. So I find myself being surrounded with people, like-minded people who want that kind of lifestyle. So it's really fun for me. And I'm a firm believer that, everyone deserves to live in a place where they feel the happiest. And yeah, it gives me a lot of joy as well, by helping them move to a new country or find a better opportunity in a country where they want to live and, enjoy the lifestyle they dream of.
I feel that with the changes, right, in the kind of our mindset of, like you were saying, right, when you feel the happiest, when your skills are requires or wanted or desires, and you really feel like a valuable contributor to this society, because this is also what we want, right, when we mean that better life. In a sense, it can be, very urgent as a thing, right? Like we're fleeing some challenge, some disaster, and then we really want to survive, so we want to be in a place where we'll be safe. That's one case. When we're talking about better life, maybe we're going there for a career, better social policies, better economy. It's all valid because the world is for many different species. It's not only for us humans, even though we forget about that, right? And the thing is, we want to contribute, right? Like we want to be valuable, want to be appreciated. That's just how it is in our nature. So this whole discourse about immigrants coming stealing our jobs and all of that, I think it's talk of people who are not really knowledgeable about what they're talking about, because we usually come to places so that we can be better humans there as well. It goes both ways, and maybe some people don't see it that way, but I notice again and again that people who move somewhere and they have this vision of themselves, right? I am here and I'm gonna work hard and I'm gonna make it worth it for me, right? They inevitably reach that kind of level where they realize that better life also means contributing. So maybe they start a business, maybe they, as you and I, help other fellow immigrants, but it also comes from our desire to provide the value and provide the service, and we pay taxes, we contribute to the economy. Some people might learn even much more about the country than the locals. They have friends here. There is one friend, a French guy, who is obsessed with Bulgarian dances, so much so
Really?
that he
Whoa.
does a master's and a PhD on this. Can you imagine? It's like, what is this?
About Bulgaria
And
culture?
there will be. Yes, yes,
Wow.
yes. Or my friend, American friend, studied Bulgarian because he really wanted to be part of the culture, and he's making TikToks in Bulgarian. And it's a lot of fun. He's a comedian. Like this is what I mean. This is us. At least that's how I see my generation, our generation of immigrants. There are people that come and they do good stuff.
Of course. Definitely, 100% agree with you. As an immigrant, as an expat, we contribute to our society. And then when we decided to move to a new country, we are ready to do whatever it takes to to make it work here. So, yeah, I agree. Now you and I are, working with immigrants and contribute to the immigration. I really see this as, is valuable. I see this as huge contribution to society as well. Definitely, 100% agree with you.
And on this note, right, talking a bit more about what you do and also helping our fellow immigrants do their best work, right? What do you think? Because you work with a few cultures, right, in a few countries, so we can say, right, like it's hey globally, so it's global. What do you think are the universal skills that you notice that people, if they have them, they thrive and maybe they get the job faster or just generally they feel more integrated right away? Is there something that you can pinpoint as the skills that people, either they are aspiring expats or actual expats who are looking for better opportunities in their career, that they can look out for?
That's a brilliant question. So I would say two things. So far I've been, on Hey Globally we have like almost 40,000 professionals from over 50 countries so far, and I've been, working with global talent from over 20 countries. So, and like they all want to move to different continent in different countries. So like I can say that regardless of which country you're from, regardless of which continent, which country you want to move to, the first thing that I really want to highlight is that what I see in successful, in our own meaning, is that really the self-awareness. Everyone's value is very, very different, as we discussed a little bit first. Maybe some want to move abroad or get a better opportunity because of, they're career driven, or they want a better opportunity. Maybe they want to earn more, something like that. Or some others, I want a better work-life balance. I have a family now. I want a better life for my family. So everyone's value is very different. Even like when they choose which company to work for, what they look for deep inside is very different. This kind of self-awareness piece is very important, very critical. The more you know about yourself, the faster you can actually achieve your outcome. I think it doesn't only apply to getting a job. I think I'm also evolving, every time. I also have a lot to learn. I also, going through a self-awareness journey every day. Even it's a lifelong journey, in my opinion. But like in career or even in business, in every setting, in relationship and everything, self-awareness is a huge part. But more tangible thing that I see would be, people are always ask me like, what are the top jobs in demand in the world? Do I need to be a data scientist? Do I need to learn how to code, or do I need, yada yada yada? Of course, each country have different kind of like list of, the jobs in demand. That's more of a tactical side. However, one thing in common that I can say is a storytelling skill, right? Even in the resume, even in your interview stage, being able to connect the dot between your previous experience with your new experience, your new future job. That actually comes from self-awareness as well. What kind of expertise you have, what makes you happy, what kind of value you have, right? And then that actually being capable of like connecting the dots between the two. So in a nutshell, self-awareness and also storytelling skill.
Well, I didn't expect that, because those are all soft skills, right? Those are all the skills that really make us engaging people to be around. On that note, I feel there are already like at least four really cool lessons that I have heard. What do you think would be the future of our immigration for career? What is the outlook right now? Because as you said, there are remote jobs, which basically cut a lot of opportunities of moving, right? Like being actually an expat, which is, you're relocated by the company, like you had in Singapore, right, as well. And I talked to my friend Eugene about it as well on the podcast here. right? What is the future of migration, COVID, how it affected the whole world in that sense. So, what do you think in your outlook and how you see the world, evolve? How you see the your business evolve, the demand, what other companies say, and what are we looking at
Yeah.
in the next 5, 10 years?
Yeah, this is the future of work, right? This is basically one of the topics that I'm really passionate about. Yes, you made a really good point, which is about like now because of remote work, companies can hire workers remotely instead of like having them as an expat. Both expat, meaning you actually want to move to a new country as an immigrant or as a foreign worker, expat, and also working remotely, both are very promising. I saw from the data sheet as well, like almost like I think 17, 18% or something like that. The companies in US, they have distributed teams, which means they don't have an office in the US, they have all distributed teams. And that number is gonna go up by 2025. This trend of like remote work and companies are more open to hiring talent from overseas without seeing them remotely actually make a lot of employers overseas be more open to hire people as an expat as well. And like for certain countries like Germany, UK, Netherlands, for example, to say, among European countries, they're very open to, sponsoring their sponsored visa and also helping foreign workers to relocate to their countries as well, right? And also Canada, Australia is super big on immigration. I immigrated to Canada as well. Like, there's always a way if you want to move to a country as an expat, want to live there for a couple of years, or now if we want to immigrate, there are tons of digital nomad visa right now in Europe. There's so many ways. If anyone who wants to move abroad with a job opportunity is highly possible. But we definitely need to do our homework, really knowing ourselves, really ask ourselves what's our expertise. If they hire me, what's in it for them, right? What can they benefit from hiring me? My rule of thumb and advice is that really thinking from the other person's perspective. How can they benefit from me? Hope that answers your question.
It does, and I also wanted to mention the digital nomad visas. There are plenty now in Europe, in Asia, in South America as well. There is, and I think it is a global trend. It will be like that. So probably a way for us to ride this wave would be indeed to focus on our expertise, to focus on those two critical skills that you mentioned, because I don't think they're going anywhere. The world is becoming more self-aware. The world is becoming more connected to storytelling. This is in our nature once again, right? So then the future looks like we will be able to move around the globe more freely than ever. And we will also be able to work more freely than ever. At least I would really hope for that, because I think this is bringing us to the next level in general. But then there is also a question of, again, diversity and inclusion that comes to opening to the global workforce, and inclusion not only in terms of culture and ethnicities and colors and everything, but it is also about engaging the people who maybe you have the people in the office, and then how do you engage the people that are remotely? They do as much work as the others, but still they are not there before you, so you don't really have that face to face, which is for us as humans is really important for bonding and for trust. Those are the questions. These are like open questions. People like you and I can actually be a great support to the companies as well to answer those questions, to be there for the people, the experts, the immigrants that they hire.
This is really important issue now, the important topic that a lot of companies are focusing on and will focus on a lot more. Whether companies have like fully remote teams or hybrid teams or whatever, for the past couple of years, people are used to work remotely. I agree with you. We are social animals. We need to see people. We need to engage with people, right? And some projects, they require teamwork, right? How can we make it better, even working remotely, right? That's a big topic and big assignment, a big task that many companies are focusing on and will be focusing on. So yeah, that's a great point.
Looks very promising to me, right? Thank you so much, Lucy. One lesson that I heard was the vibe check, right? Once again, trust your gut, right? Is this a place where I feel I can be the best of me, I can give the best of me, which also in turn kind of nourishes me, the people, the culture, the climate as well. I mean,
Yeah,
actually, these are important
it
things
is
for many
important.
people. Then I also heard about the amazing skills of self awareness and storytelling. And indeed, they will be essential at any workplace, in any company, at any profession, even if you work with data every day. The world has changed. We have a lot of human interaction right now. So these are super important skills. And the last but not least is also, yeah, focusing on our expertise and being open to explore the world in this new setup, how it is. Maybe you will be a digital nomad, maybe you'll be a freelancer, maybe you will be employed by the company. There are so many opportunities now. Now the challenge is to
Choose the
choose.
one. Exactly. Choose the one that works best for me, that also circle back to self-awareness. What makes me happy, right? I think that's a huge big question that for all of us, including me. That's a great summary.
Would you like to add anything to close the topic? And can you also tell us where we can learn a bit more about your work?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, thank you so much, Anna. As I mentioned in the beginning, I'm a huge fan of your content. Please keep creating amazing content and, helping immigrants as amazingly as you are. If you're looking for a job abroad, or if you're looking for better opportunities in your current country, or if you're looking for a remote job, just visit heyglobally.com, and you can just like sign up with your email address. We're going to send you a list of jobs opportunities every week. I have a lot of free resources as well. You can download it at lucyjeon.com/free. I'm most active on LinkedIn. LinkedIn. That's how I met Anna as well. So you guys can connect with me on LinkedIn as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lucy, for your time, and looking forward to getting more of your amazing content as well.
Thank you so much, Anna.